So you want to have a high ticket salesperson who's closing deals for you. Now, you may be wondering, how do I properly structure the compensation plan? This week, I talked to a business owner who actually made some serious mistakes in how he structured his compensation plan, and for that reason, he was not able to retain the right sales rep for his company. So I want to record this video to break down the 5 critical mistakes that I see business owners making when it comes time to designing and paying their commission-based salespeople. Now, let's dive into it. First things first, the first mistake that we see business owners make time and time again is pretty simple. They underpay salespeople. Now, it's no secret, salespeople are money motivated. In fact, they are one of the most money motivated team members you will have in the entire company. They love to perform and they love to get paid. Now, it doesn't mean that they're all money hungry and they're willing to do anything for money, but if they are not adequately compensated, you will not get the right people. Besides, if you pay at the low end of the spectrum, who are you gonna get? A bunch of amateurs. And the last thing you want is a bunch of amateurs in your sales department. Instead, what you want are the peak professionals, people who have been around the block. They have learned how to sell effectively. In fact, when we play sales reps for clients, their first sales rep must have closed over $1 million as a consultative salesperson. Otherwise, we won't place them. And it's because a small business like yours just doesn't have the time to be able to teach someone how to be able to sell. They have to know how to sell, they have to come ready, and in fact, that way we can then teach them about the product and the offer and the market, and they can get up and running a lot quicker. So if you underpay, you're gonna get people who don't know how to sell, or you're gonna get people who they just weren't very good at sales. Those are not situations you wanna have, and it will end up costing you a heck of a lot more in the long run if you underpay. And that leads us to our second point. So what is the second mistake that a lot of business owners make when it comes time to paying their salespeople? Well, it's the opposite. They end up overpaying them. Salespeople are very persuasive, and salespeople will say, and just, they like to push the limit to see what they can get away with. That's the type of person that a salesperson is. When someone tells them no, they hear no and they go, haha, yeah, I'm sure. And then they keep pushing. That is a good salesperson, and as a result, a good salesperson will push to see what they can get. So it's not uncommon for me to hear business owners say that they're paying their salespeople 30, 35% at times, even 25%, and that is just way overpaying. You will not be able to scale your company at that kind of rate. Generally, what we see is I want to allocate 15% of all revenue to my sales department. That tends to be a sweet spot where you're able to pay market rates. It will push you potentially to raise your pricing, and it will then make sure that your sales team is operating in a lean and powerful way. So that gives you a good guideline. Usually with first sales hire, I may be paying as much as 15%, and over time I'm gonna drop it. Just like the first person who comes on a sports team, let's say for example, if I'm trying to build a new franchise and I wanna recruit my star player that I'm gonna build the team around, I'm gonna pay that person a little bit more than the rest of the people as they start to come on the team. So it works very similarly. But 15% is a good rule of thumb or guideline that you can use in terms of designing your compensation plan properly. Now, the third mistake that we see people make is just so simply avoidable. What happens is a lot of times when you're paying commission-based salespeople, you may have to pay them front-loaded, which I mean, if they do a 3-pay, I may actually pay them for the full entire deal after their first or second payment. So when that happens, what I want to do is make sure that I keep reserves in place. So what we do is we take 10% of commissions up until a certain threshold, right? So let's say, for example, up until $5,000 inside of the reserve account, we take 10% of their commissions and we just set it aside in an escrow account. And with that, then if anyone refunds, let's say, for example, the sales rep quits and then 3 of their enrollments end up refunding because this person just said whatever they wanted to say in order to get the deal because they knew they were on their way out. Well, you're not going to be liable for taking that hit. You'll be able to process the refunds and you'll get your commissions back. And that's the whole point of the reserve account, is to make sure that interests are aligned and it makes sure that you CYA, you cover that booty. You know what I mean? So install reserve accounts. Don't make the mistake that a lot of business owners make, which is they just blindly trust, they pay that commission up front, and then the salesperson's enrolled a lot of bad deals, and then they're off, they're paid, while you're the one who's actually dealing with the consequences of those enrollments, which is paying a base. it's so common for me to see that sales reps will negotiate bases early in. Most of the time when I talk to teams that use bases, their sales reps are underperforming, and the sales reps are doing what's called coasting or skating. They're just doing enough to keep their job, but they don't really push heavy. You'll find that your top performing sales reps want to get paid on their results because they know that's how they're able to make the most amount of money. As well, it's a good indication that they really do trust their skills and they're willing to bet on themselves. And what we tend to find is the teams that align on performance-based compensation and performance-based incentive, they tend to attract a different caliber of team member. They tend to attract a more advanced, high-power team member, and they produce a lot more results. So that's why we really like to make sure that salespeople are compensated based on their performance, not based on a base pay. And some people will say they'll try to negotiate base pays. We don't do that with this business model, especially if you're selling high ticket or sometimes what could be considered mid ticket, like a 3 to 25 or 30K price point. It's not necessary. Deal cycles are fast enough that you can do 100% commission based. In fact, it's more the norm in industry standard with what we're doing to do 100% commission based. So that's why we don't pay bases at all. It also helps us scale the teams faster. And when you can scale the org faster, it ends up being a much bigger benefit for everybody inside the team, from the salespeople to the marketers to the fulfillment to every single person who's eating off of the work of this company. It's going to be something that will help them all. So that's why we don't pay base pays. It helps us hedge that risk, scale faster, and just make things work a heck of a lot better. Now, the last one is number 5, the mistake I see time and time again, especially if you guys are selling monthly recurring revenue services. So let's say you have a high ticket SaaS, or say, for example, you're selling agency services. It's very common for me to see people who are selling agency services to offer the continuity of the sale commissionable. So let's say, for example, the salesperson sells a 3-month contract, the person sticks for 12 months, they'll continue compensating them after the contract renews or after the person continues. So we don't do that, and the reason is because that will get your sales reps to coast. What you want to do is have a fall off point. Generally, we find it works really well at about 90 days, because if a customer sticks 90 days, what we find is pretty much anything after 90 days should be credited to the client success and the fulfillment team. Anything in those first 90 days, the sales rep will likely be involved, and they likely will have to set proper expectations to keep them past that retention point. So it's a good place that aligns interests both for the sales rep as well as for the business long-term and the longevity. It helps you protect your margins, because now you're able to get a lot more margin on the back end. If you're not paying 15% on the remaining 9 months of that contract, that's a lot of additional profitability that you can then use to reinvest and continue scaling the company. So that gives you 5 mistakes that you absolutely want to avoid when it comes time to hiring your salesperson and getting off the phones and scaling your company. If you guys want to go deeper, we actually have a resource that you can grab in the high ticket growth kit. I'll leave a link to that below in this video. And in it, I have something called the Hollywood Comp Plan. I go really deep in exactly how we like to design compensation plans and how we borrow models that come from both Hollywood and that come from the fast-growing VC venture-backed software company world. And we look at the comp models of those as well as the comp models of elite performing sports teams, and we borrow ideas from all of those and combine them into a unique way that helps you get high performers who want to achieve and do their best work with your company day in, day out, and get paid on results, and make sure that your guys' interests are aligned and you guys are getting your outcome, they're getting your outcome, and your clients are happy as well. So it's a win-win-win scenario. So if you want to check that out, check out the link below. It will take you over to the high ticket growth kit, and in there it's called the Hollywood Comp Plan. I think you're really going to like it. Now, go ahead, start implementing this. If you haven't considered how to structure this stuff, there's another video that I also want to recommend you to, which is, watch this before hiring any sales reps, and it'll give you some ideas of key things that you need in place before you do bring on sales reps. As well, you can check out our other video about how many leads you need before you hire sales reps. I think if you're in a place that you're considering how to structure this properly, these videos will give you a lot, and we have a ton more resources. In fact, we have a whole quick start pack. So if you guys want some of our templates that you can plug and play, they're guaranteed to save you at least 10 hours. You'll find a link to that below as well. It's just $37. You'll get the quick start pack. And if you're in the phase where you're trying to get a sales team off the ground, that's a really good place for you guys to get started. So with that said, hopefully this was helpful, got your eyes and your mind thinking in new ways, and you're seeing things in a different light. And if that's the case, then this video was successful, and I'll see you in the next one.